And so next we have Luke. So it's kind of funny. So I actually met Luke here in the same room a year ago. So Gutes, Demars, and I were scrambling a year ago in the same exact room. It had ran like about 2 hours late, just as usual. And it was a trustless TE salon. And Luke was nameless, but wearing like these research hat with Stop AI shirt. So it's a walking paradox. And he was labeled as a demo vendor on my guest list, so nameless. Uh, but then his demo probably has the most biggest crowd in the same room. So what were you hiking on last year?
Oh, yeah. So we were trying to see if we could infer prompts like remotely on a GPU using like SDRs. And we found out that the mixture of experts they produce, they consume different amounts of energy because the map models are, they're different, numbers in there. So like map model all ones look much different than a map model all zeros. And so that, and then since all the MOE experts are different, um, the model essentially encodes exactly the prompt into the routing of the MOE experts.
And what was the demo trying to, what was the paper about?
The paper was seeing if, as the paper started out, saying if we this code like latently, a model ability to communicate over the side channel that it creates, but by just like sensing, the different map models in its weights, and then it turned into we didn't really have a predictor, so we ended up I feel like cheating using the MOE to extract information from the running model.
But yeah, a very cool like I think paper prompted by the AI enthusiast to the point I didn't realize it was not exactly he's walking the line, let's say, including the enthusiast and the isolationist. Anyway, so what are you talking about today?
So like I think 5 months ago, for a while I've been really into model research and like reinforcement learning. And then okay, so then oh my goodness. Yeah, so I got really into these kernel competitions on GPU mode because the prizes should be very large. So they, some of these prizes were like, oh, if you did the highest score, they'll give you like up to 200 grand, or they'll give you $1 million of investment. So me and my friend, we spent a lot of time trying to get very good at brain kernels with agents. And actually, we got so good at hit number one, but it turns out our agent was just one hacking and hacked eventually. And it's really fun because it happened like 5 minutes before the upcoming competition, and we think the agent like do this, and then just all of a sudden produce an attack that you would solve. So for a common like 2 times, they did bring on certain launches and where we decodes the agent did. And that's a huge issue in a lot of research. It's just, if you have a hard like eval that to be hacked, the agent, it will eventually hack it because especially if you're shooting any kind of training. And then I was just, thinking about this and it's like, oh, well, MEV or exploits are like a very nice RLDR problem. It's like, I give a controller I get an agent like some wallet it controls, and then if it can make that wallet more money, then that's a nice target. So I set out to build like a harness to start to train agents in this environment, and then I can give them, this like historical world of the blockchain, which is nicely archived, and then I let it write a Python script and then see if it increases the balance. So we don't have I don't have all the private order flow data, but I do have a bunch of like public data from like Flashbots archives, this like mempool dumpster, and it goes back pretty far. I can't remember exactly, and it was very nice to have. What? 2021. Okay. And then I don't know. Then I found this like weak snapshot thing, which was I think like a very compressed like Ethereum chain state. And then I built this like I built a way to align the two data sets, and then I can give the agent historical blockchain state. So it has the public order flow, and then also has, the chain. And so the agents, it's not like just directly, trying to like execute, submit a bundle or something. It's writing a program. So and that program, can see the historical state of the chain. It can observe, all the public mempool data, and then it gets some information about the next block. Yeah, so and then I tried to make a way for the agent to write a program that can do many things like decompile the bytecode, run some tests. So it can build some like very it can try to like even exploit, the contracts if it finds it. So then the agent, runs, like looks through given this deterministic like state, or like I mean repeatable state, right? So I give it many like snapshots of the chain, and then it can go sit in there and like run and try to generate a program that will maximize, the value. And then the way I was doing it was not just like on one, like this state, but like on all the states. And yeah, so then the program can do everything it needs to do to like, build, like come up with a bundle to submit. And the program is like competing against like very naive, like optimal ordering strategies. So it doesn't just like find that and just not try to search more. And then I guess, okay, so then there's different ways to do this kind of searching, right? Or like writing a program. So I think like the easiest way is just like a loop, where you just read them now. I guess like Claude has that, where you just hit loop and it's running. And then like puck search or something that like auto research uses targeting next way where you keep track of your previous attempts, and then you search, the tree to find like ones that you may have missed, once you want to revisit. And then, you can also learn. So you can use like RL, like GRPO, and try to actually create some uplift in your ability to learn the programs. And then the method that I really like is called like test time training, where essentially you combine auto research and RL. So where you end up writing a program that like you can queue to kind of tree search, and then you also tweet RL at the same time. So it starts to look for more it's trying to actually discover and search like more exceptional outcomes. So then GRPO, I don't know, like just an overview on how it works, since you have some basically will do some rollout, and you will treat these as groups. And then essentially what you're doing is you're trying to the reward is like trying to get the highest uplift, sorry, the average uplift in the group. And that's more, visible here, where like um if you don't have, you just have like zero rewards or all same rewards, you have the gradients don't flow and you can't learn anything. So if the model finds the same strategy across all of them, that rollout's useless and a waste. Or if the model is too hard, if the task is too hard, then you can't learn anything from it. And that's like probably the hard part of creating an RL environment, is something that's like, okay, if I do this, if I do enough attempts, the model will get it. But if it's too hard, then the model won't be able to do it. And then at that point, you like, if you've been in this where you're all zero, you need to do like SFT on some data you generate in order to like have the model at least some of the attempts correct. And then yeah, so it's like GRPO, because of the way that it's like has the reward works, is it's like almost optimizing for like average performance, but that's not like what the TTT is more interesting to me, because it's like it doesn't actually care about the average performance of the model. It cares about finding an exceptional outcome. And that's what I actually care about when I'm like looking for some, searcher code, or some bundle. I care about having exceptional outcomes. And same thing with kernels. Like I don't really want an average kernel writing agent. I want one that's going to give me the fastest kernel. And TGT is very like, it's almost disheartening to run, because it just runs for a while and it is like, okay, but then it like hits and it finds something that's like very exciting, but it doesn't, it almost feels like you're not making progress or like you should go out. It's kind of like, the average performance does increase. Oh, and then yeah, so the way that I approached this was I have like a harness around Claude and it's trying to do RL around that. And I do not recommend that because it's really difficult. And I knew that and I tried to like, mitigate some of these things where I can do something like Kevin on top of the harness, but it's still hard. So and then why is it hard? Because like if you have a very long rollout, if it's some one part of that goes, sorry, very long trace, and something goes wrong, you're gonna get zero. Your program's not gonna work very well, and it's not clear like what went wrong. Was it this tool call it made a mistake? Was it's like it's not a good way to do it. So then there's this nice paper called Kevin for kernels, and you basically treat the harness as a way where it's like, okay, you just give it, you let it do like this kind of like React style, like more attempts to optimize. And you can give it like some tool calls in that. And then you have like for each of these turns, it's just nice. And that's probably a better way to do it. And then Puck's really nice. So it's essentially, you have like auto research or like TPT. It's like you give the you start with a C program, and then you search like you let the model like record all the programs it's writing, and then it can go back and like revisit previous branches so that he's maybe like this one branch is you know I didn't get the highest score, but maybe be worth it to spend more time optimizing it. And Puck comes from it's used in Vue 0, and I think an issue compared to Vue 0 with PTT or auto research like is that Vue 0 it has a head that's informing the Puck search, and these methods don't, and that is something I'd like to visit in the future. And then, okay, so the result is that this was like a lot of data, and I had a solid state drive and died. And so I think I spent like a week or so on this, so that I moved on because I didn't want to buy another. I did not make any money. I lost $700 for the solid state drive. So
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask you like, so you've been a hacker for like just jack of all trades type of stuff. And so like, what is this rabbit hole? Like, what's your takeaway so far? And also like, I didn't realize that you were into on-chain stuff until it gets splash lost a little bit.
what's my takeaway from like
This exploration.
this explosion? Oh, I really like TTP Discover. I think that it should be applied to more problems. And I think there's improvements to be made that, like I said, with the Puck search and other things. But yeah, I think that what I really liked is other people brought up the fact that it's going to be hard to make money with like Claude and like running in a loop because everybody gets Claude running in a loop and they all kind of converge on the same outcomes. When I think if you're training, models, you can like outperform people in this space, especially if you're spending a lot of money to train better models.
How much money?
I don't know. It depends like on Kimmy K3 would be really fun to do this with, but that seems very expensive to, run.
Great. Okay. Well, Marcus, we have a trader and researcher and some pocket builder.
Hey, just a quick question from someone who knows a little bit about how finance ships operate, but not that much. ML and like kind of RL techniques have been in the quant finance world for a while. From what I know about them, they tend to be significantly simpler than something like an LLM would be, and they find that simplicity makes them a lot more effective. How different is this approach from that? And do you think that it is like using LLMs for trading is viable in the future, even though they haven't found it to be useful in the past and the time for more simple approaches? And anybody looking for any could be wrong. This is just my fuzzy understanding how ML in all that aspects.
So I know people are using like LLMs to like ingest a large amount of data, especially like natural language data. But I think that informs some other part of their like strategies for trading. I'm not very familiar with, quant. This is something I like got into before, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a piece of like a larger puzzle, right? But it's whatever's gonna work, and it's a bunch of experimentation.
We do try to use solutions as well. You're not wrong that what's needed to work with time is blur stuff. The way I look at it is like this kind of little inventions to this because just you knew where to start. Is some ways a big problem. So it's kind of like you may want to drill down and find the big school, but it's an unbounded number of like strategies, exchanges, trading pairs. No, yeah. So I think just even narrowed down to search space is where I think sort of helpful. That's an entry side. And then next execution, just do something like monitoring if your trading, strategy is working properly, or if it's like erroring out. Is line out it's like people based.
Negative. Can you tell us whether other big auto researchers yourself found whether it was important to carefully choose the features you were injecting?
Sorry, what do you be careful what you run?
The features you were injecting in order. How much did you have to work yourself versus like really insights you could give to isolate where they actually just
Where it's like I'm prompting the system for the auto research or
not with mostly on the RL side of what is it injected, like whether you have to do stuff volumes, whether there was a big impact in what features we ingested as opposed to like the algorithm obstacles.
Yeah, so I think one thing that would have been better is I kind of gave the agent, in his codex harness prompt, and they gave it a bunch of tools and so let it explore. So I wasn't really like I gave it like as many tools as I could come up with to like explore, the state of the chain and the mempool snapshots I had, and just let it like go. Then I did have another agent that I was talking to come up with a bunch of like previous exploits and other things like that. And then I was like feeding in, I could have like a library of impacts that are in the street code that the agent would pull into. But I was not like I kind of like let the agent choose.